Hello and welcome. If you can hear us, please let us know in the chat so we can make sure that there are no technical difficulties.
Let me say something too.
Okay, hello Mohammed. Nice to see you guys. Thank you for coming. Brilliant. Okay, hello to everyone. My name is Carolina and I'm from Boldare. Welcome to our webinar on how to accelerate digitization of products and services in your company. This webinar will be hosted in the form of a conversation between representatives of two companies, namely sonnen and Boldare. In the discussion, we'll explore a real-life case study of how sonnen approached a digital transformation and how Boldare helped along the way. However, before we dig in, a few words of introduction. This webinar is hosted by Boldare. We are a digital product design and development company with over 15 years of experience, 140 employees, over 250 web and mobile applications developed, and 100 clients in our roster. We help companies big and small build digital products and go through a process of digital transformation to prepare them for the future. You will hear more about specifics of our approach during today's session. And if you're curious, you can find out more about us on our website, boldare.com. And also, we encourage you to sign up to our next webinar on how to become an agile company. My colleague will post the link to the session in the chat, so please sign up today. The webinar will be a follow-up to today's session and will focus on the business benefits of agile and the path of agile implementation. Now, let me introduce you to today's speakers. We welcome Michał Konder, Vice President of Digital Solutions at sonnen, and Artur Belka, Customer Success at Boldare. If at any point you have any questions to our speakers, please do not hesitate to post them in the questions tab on your right-hand side. During the webinar, Artur will pick the questions and answer them together with Michał. We will not host a dedicated Q&A session after the webinar, so please make sure to type in those questions as soon as they come up. So if you feel like posting your question in public is not something you prefer, you can always contact us via email. It's hello@boldare.com. Now let's welcome Artur and Michał. Guys, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carolina. Thanks for your very kind introduction, and very good to see you. Very good to see you, Michał. And guys, just a few words of introduction. Let me tell you something more about who Michał is. That guy is the Vice President of Digital Solutions at sonnen. That is true. But Michał, please tell a few words, or maybe correct me. You have an extensive experience in both product management, but also in the energy and utilities market, because before that, you actually worked at the SWM company at Munich, who essentially delivers energy to the city services of the city of Munich in Bavaria. And before that, you also were highly engaged in energy business as a product manager and as an innovation manager. So you have an extensive background in that. When we are talking about questions, guys, please feel very open to type them. If we don't get the chance to answer them, please be sure that we'll reach out to you. So no question will be lost whether or not we have the time to answer that. And I try to make sure that it's there. So Michał, if you could confirm or possibly disapprove what I told you about you and how connected you are to what digital transformation is.
Yeah, thank you, Artur. I think for a quick introduction, that was pretty right. Yeah, I'm really driven by two things. Probably my whole professional career and even before is really renewable energies. So how can you transform energy markets to something more renewable, more sustainable, probably also more democratic if you want to, and also digital. So originally I started I studied computer science, but also focused a lot on other things. So not only what is happening inside the computer, but also what is happening outside. So how can you transform organizations? How can we transform the way people collaborate? How can you transform businesses with doing software and with doing hardware? So I also studied a lot of in psychology, a bit of politics, a bit of economics, and so on. So to really get the whole picture, I was in the early on 0 years, so 2000, 2003, I think, where I think the whole thing like digitalization wasn't really on the table as a name, but I was focused on what you probably now would call digitization. And in my whole professional career, I really was focusing on how can you transform organizations, and especially how can you transform markets. And I really love renewable energy, so it's a perfect place to be for me. And yeah, I think for a rough start point, probably can now understand what's driving me at least. And I was always at the edge of the industry and the digital part of it, and always trying to really transform things.
Yeah, it's a great introduction, and now you are at Sonnen, partnering with us in digital transformation, working on various projects. But before we jump into what digital transformation really is, how we understand it, what components there are of it, and how the story went in Sonnen, let's tell our guests about what Sonnen really is and what you guys do. I can just paint that in some very rough shape. So basically, you're a green energy company. If any of you guys want to install solar panels on your rooftop, you will need a battery to store that energy, because the sun doesn't shine at night, and also it doesn't shine the same way every day. So you need a storage facility. But besides from that, you need a connection to the national power grid, and you need quite a lot of complex systems in order to calculate your taxes, calculate the way that you sell your energy, that you receive it, and so on. And that battery, that infrastructure is what you guys basically do in Germany, various other European countries, but also to a very large extent in the US. Am I right in sketching that roughly?
Yeah, absolutely. could phrase it better. And I think if you want to understand what is our approach to digital transformation, it's also probably interesting how Sonnen started, because the company is only 10 years old, which is quite young. You could still call us a startup, but I think that's not true anymore. But really started like two guys, more or less in a garage, building up one of the first PV storage batteries in the world, and then bringing that to the market, growing and growing and growing. But really started with hardware. Yeah, so Sonnen didn't start as any software tech company, but really hardware, metal, electricity, battery, lithium, iron, phosphate, all these crazy things. And now we are, I think, active in a lot of markets you mentioned. Also in Australia, we are quite big, market leader, innovation leader with more than 700 employees and a lot more than 100 million revenue in 2020, I think, at least if the year doesn't crash in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So there's a massive growth that was happening in the last years, and this is really what makes Sonnen interesting, because we are in many areas innovation leader. At least I would call us something like this. We're market leaders, and probably we're always very, very fast with things we do, and that's also what, when we come to digital transformation, was driving us like the last probably 5 years to become more and more a software company, more and more digital company, and where hardware is the key. Yeah, it's very cool if you have hardware in someone's household. Yeah, because hardware doesn't move away. But if you then create a big digital ecosystem around it, then you can really boost your product services and also your connections to your customers. And there was things that were driving Sonnen among the last years, I think.
That is very cool, and that I think it's a good segue to what digital transformation is. You started as an engineering company, basically dealing mostly in hardware, and we got a very good question from Pavel. What were the first signs that sonnen needs a digital transformation? We can jump into what we understand by digital transformation later on, but if you could speak from your memories, when possibly you thought that you might need some support from that, or just things had to change a bit in order to adjust or to move or to change?
Mm-hmm. I think there were probably two bigger drivers. Yeah, the one was really scaling. Yeah, so we had some pretty good products and services that were selling quite well. Customers were quite happy with that. But it's a difference if you sell, I don't know, 50 or 100 units per month, or if you sell 2,000, 5,000 per month. That was the first thing. We discovered that if we combine more things to the hardware, it might be of much higher value to our customers, and that's why we decided to become more like a full service energy supplier. Yeah? So you, in the introduction, you mentioned the sun doesn't always shine. That's right. Yeah. And in winter days like this, at least here in Germany at the moment, we don't have that much sun over days, and then even your battery is empty. So you need energy from somewhere else. Yeah. And that's where sonnen started. Okay, we don't want our customers to have a battery from sonnen and a PV system from someone else, and then an energy contract from a third party, and so on and so on, so that customers have a lot of complexity. Because the complexity is only fun for people who really like to get deeply into it. But if you want to make energy revolution a product for everybody, you need to make it simple. Yeah. So that was the one driver. Getting everything from one hand as a full service energy provider. And the second bigger driver was that our current business model, which is quite successful, but still is relying on a lot of third-party contractors. So meaning if we want to get our hardware to our customers, it's mostly sold by third parties and it's installed by third parties. So we are in a B2B2C business model for most of the parts, and it's very hard to have a constant quality in this business. Yeah, the end customer perceives sonnen. They see sonnen. Yeah, they open our app. They see our hardware. Everything is branded with sonnen, but it comes from a lot of different companies all over the planet. Yeah, so that deliver it to the customer, and we saw that the quality issues were in all directions. People were telling sales stories that weren't just true. Yeah, so we thought, okay, we need to get more control of this B2B2C approach. Yeah, so we need to be in more control about what happens at the end customer, what is told to them, what is sold to them, what is installed to them, how are they serviced, so that the whole story and the whole perception of our products is in a way that we think it should be. And again, if you want to include several hundreds of thousands of parties worldwide, it's hard to do that via telephone. Yeah? So digital might be an approach to get to this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what you told us just now is a great illustration of how we can think about digital transformation, because you can understand it in its simplest as just perhaps moving from analog processes to digital processes in a simple way, or perhaps in some other take, just adding new technological features that are digital. But that's not really about that. What you really mentioned is about transitioning the very core of your service and changing it, in improving customer experience across many channels, in changing it completely. Also shifting the business model and the revenue model. So it's a very important thing. And also it's about optimizing internal operations and also supply chains, partners, and so on. So it's really an encompassing thing. And I would say that it's a great illustration of what a very systemic digital transformation is, touching upon almost every component of what the company does. And it's usually composed of several things. So you need a strategy and a goal and a vision to do that. you need to change some roles and some structures, and you also need to think about people, their skill, the way they are organized. So if we jump to the strategy and what drove you, we've been cooperating for quite a long time, and it changed quite a bit, because definitely we can see that there was a goal, and some decision making was implemented in new ways. Now it's much more data driven, based on metrics, on tools like customer journey mapping, innovation workshops, setting goals in a data driven way. I think that changed massively. What do you think was most important here in just setting these goals, in choosing tools of how to steer transformation?
I think it really it's not a very good statement, but it really starts with a vision. Yeah, it's that's so important, and really is driving us all the way since several years. If you have a really good vision, and if you have people who can tell that vision and carry it to other people, that's probably the most binding thing you can have. Yeah. So what we wanted to achieve, and I think that's very important when you talk about digital transformation, for me it always comes with agile transformation. Yeah, those are two sides of the same coin, because digital transformation is can be even disruptive. Yeah, you can disrupt your own business model, other people's business model, but at least it is a good answer to complexity, and how to remain fast, how to remain innovative, how to always improve. Yeah, but in the end, it's an answer to complexity. And I think the more you come to digital, the more the classical hierarchical models come to their end. Yeah, so you have so many dependencies, you have many complexities that probably not everything can be decided going up the hierarchy ladder, but you need to have decisions more and more where people are really in contact with customers, in contact with customer journey, in contact with data, in contact with services, so that they can decide more and more autonomously. And but if everybody is deciding what they want, then probably you get a total mess. So the vision is really something that can bind everything together, and derive from this a good strategy. And we at Sonnen, we took quite some time for defining this strategy, not to every single piece and bit, but we said, okay, what kind of approach do we want to take? How what do we want to achieve with it? And at the end, we really decided for several more disruptive approaches. And we formed teams that were able to really do disruption, but then change the teams quite fast again, so that it gets more sustainable. Yeah, because disrupting something is like the big bang. Yeah, and you introduce new things, and everything is cool and funny and woo. Yeah, but then you need to make it well. Yeah, and these are changes in the skill sets you need. These are changes in the technology you need. Yeah, you need to combine innovation and being fast with being sustainable, being stable, and all these aspects. And this was pretty clear for us from the start that we will always need to change. Yeah, there's this big vision, there's the strategy, but underneath all the teams, the team structures, the skill sets, the technology, everything is due to constant change, and we try to form something that is supporting this. Yeah, so we didn't have like a 3 years plan with several hundreds of pages, but at least some rough points need to be absolutely clear that we wanted to go that way.
Yeah, right, and that's the essence of an agile approach, right? So you have the strategy, you have the vision, and what strategy really is, well, at least as most people would define it, is just milestones, the actions that have to be done in general terms, just put in time. But how exactly it's going to be executed is down to details, and agile helps in that enormously. You mentioned, about teams reformulation and responding quickly to changing needs, and also incremental approach in changing. So yeah, disruptive, but it's being revised all the time. And this is something that I remember very clearly. There's changes in team structure being done really when it is it is necessary. So it is a very agile approach, and but implementing agile was not that easy. It didn't come, without its pains. It also took some time. So what do you think was the biggest challenge here in introducing this very IT world, not so much hardware world approach into sonnen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, like probably with all transformations, the first big challenge was that we didn't start greenfield. Yeah. So, so you could just take a book and read the pages and just do it. So, a lot was already there. Yeah. So when we really started the larger transformation, we were already what you at least to a certain extent could call digital. Yeah, we already had like an app and customer portal. We had a lot of things connected. We had big CRM systems. So we were not a hardware company working with paper. There was already a lot of things there. But the biggest challenges we had was we grew very fast. So the team grew from probably 20, 25 to more than 100 within several months. So it was very fast growth. We had to divide in a lot of teams. So first we were probably 2 or 3 teams working more or less agile, and then we extended that to 10 plus teams. And that's cool, but everybody needs still to work on the same goal. Yeah, and if you think about what agile gives you, agile talks a lot about how teams work inside, yeah, how they focus on a certain product, on a certain service, and how the team processes are, the culture, the communication, how you deliver good software. But it's harder if you have a lot of teams, and this lot of teams is also included in an even larger company. So how do you align the company strategy, the company's roadmaps to an overall digital roadmap? How do you come to team roadmaps that the teams know where to go? And also from a technical perspective, how do you align architecture? Yeah, if you want more or less autonomous teams making autonomous decisions, that probably shouldn't result in an architecture, the one going this technology, the other this technology, one going with that API version, the others, creating a lot of dependencies that no one is caring about. So these are the nitty and gritty parts that you really need to look at then, and that gave us a lot of headache. Yeah, so because what happens if you from a more central or from more management perspective say, we want to have this kind of architecture, we want these services to communicate that way, we want this kind of product, we want these kinds of features, then you get a top-down approach again. Then everybody in the then existing or creating hierarchy is coming to you and asking you questions, and they say, hey, should I do it that way or that way? Yeah. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted teams that are fully responsible for a certain product, or for at least parts of a product or a customer journey, and that they can make decisions as fast as they can. Yeah, because if you can make fast decisions, you as a business get fast. So getting a good mixture between what we need to define on a more central level, yeah, and what we probably need to do a bit top down, and what we allow as freedom in the teams. That was one of the, and is still the biggest challenge probably, yeah. But that's also very good, because if you get there and you get teams that really feel fully responsible for something, and you have good people in those teams, then they really get running. Yeah, then you can see excellent results. You can see people having fun on their job, and customers being happy because they can use greater tools, because someone really emphasized on this. And if you, on the other hand, do too much top down, everything gets slower and quality decreases. You probably don't have that many hassle and not that many discussions among teams you need to facilitate, but definitely you're slower and not that cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that by that you answered very well another question that Pavel just asked, which were the biggest obstacles in the process, and that is exactly that. But we get another one from Mohammed, and it is, how do we deal with unmajored organizations' employees? It was one of my barriers during some projects I've been involved in. I think that what Mohammed has in his mind is how to approach basically onboarding people into an agile, into a lean organization, and it, in my experience, it does take time. Sometimes it also takes a hiring strategy because sadly not everybody will be ready to work in such an environment. But how do you see that, Michael?
Absolutely. I think there are two aspects. One is if you need new people on board, yes, a good hiring strategy is very important. But I think, as I understand Mohammed's question, also if employees that are already there and that are probably not used to an agile way of working and to more decentralized decision making, and that can be and is probably one of the toughest problems you might face, yeah, because not everybody is really willing to take that way. It's not only that they are not used to, and sometimes you really come to a point where you say, probably it doesn't really work, yeah. And that's the same we had at Sonnen, and also with my previous employers. You get to that point, and you can. There are a lot of ways how you can try to encourage people, yeah, how you get step by step to a certain point, and I think it's most important that two of the if you look at Scrum, for example, if two of the roles are well chosen, yeah, if the product owner and the Scrum Master are not hierarchical but more encouraging the team, and product owner that is more like a visionary guy and really dragging people to a certain direction, saying, hey, this is so cool and thank you and we need that. And on the other hand, a Scrum Master or Agile coach really looking at the team structures, at every individual in the teams and how they behave. That's very important, and that's a good start. And what we then put aside on this were coaching programs, so that if you see someone has some problems with it, how can we increase that with personal coaching, showing them some paths, showing probably different team setups, different roles, trying different things. Because you cannot force people to be agile, yeah, but you can try to show them different perspectives, and quite often that matches. Then they find a slot where they say, okay, this is now cool, and then from management perspective, it was our job to make it happen. Yeah. So if you find a good job for someone who's already there since several years and this person says, okay, this is where I want to commit, yeah, then we need to make it happen. Yeah. But at a certain point, probably that doesn't really work out, and then we also need to talk about, okay, is this really a good fit, or what can we do? Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. And I think that point also might come up when when we are talking about cooperation between two companies, because what you mentioned was basically that you need to give the people the feeling of security and empowerment and impact of an understanding of what they are actually doing. And that happens when the teams are reasonably flat. That also comes to roles like Scrum Masters and Product Masters, so that product owners, so that everybody actually feels, like a team member. Our team members are very multidisciplinary, right? They consist of designers, front-end developers, DevOps, Scrum Masters, backend developers. So they are multidisciplinary. We take great care so that everybody feels a full-fledged team member. But there also is the structure of standards and design sprints and alignments. So yeah, there are many tools and many practices that we can use to do that. But working on equal footing between companies is also important. So I think that one of points of success that we actually performed during our cooperation was that people feel extremely equal as members of two different companies, but working in single teams, in combined teams, and working on the same project very openly, communicating very freely. And I think that we can be really proud of that.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think we had from that perspective, we had two things that we thought from the beginning were very important. The one is we knew we wouldn't hire everybody as an internal because that would just take too long and also wouldn't give us the flexibility because we didn't know the exact path. Yeah, so we always wanted to have flexibility and great skills. So we said we want some good partners. External companies, yeah, but we want to treat them as internals. Yeah, we want teams just to be teams and not care about from which company you come. Yeah, everybody is responsible for a product or for a service or for a great experience, and the combination of who has a contract with Sonnen or with Boldare or with some other companies that shouldn't care. Yeah, so we treated everybody more or less like the same. Yeah. Resulting, of course, that you as a company have to be open. Yeah, so you shouldn't have too many secrets. Yeah, because it always feels like not at arm length and on the same level. That was the one thing, and the second thing I would like to add is we also said we don't want something like a more classical IT and business approach. So having an IT department, having business departments, and the business departments tell what they want, and the IT department has to deliver it. Yeah, because that's also quite common approach where we can be very successful, but we wanted to get one step further, and we said, okay, the teams we are forming, they are really responsible for the product and not for the digital part of the product. So they are really responsible for the whole product, and that means they are also responsible for service, for example. Yeah, we said, okay, if the customer has a problem, he will call our number, and okay, in the first step he will get to our hotline. But if he really has a problem, then the telephone within your team will ring.
Correct.
There is no line of defense. Yeah, so you have to deal with those customers, and you have two ways: either you take the phone or email, or you deliver software that prevents the customer to call. Yeah, you have all skills on board, and you're responsible for it. And that was also I think for us also a bit revolutionary, but resulted in people really feeling responsible for what they do. Yeah, it's a difference if you have to talk to a customer directly, or if your service department tells you, okay, we have 200 service cases for this special part of the product, and someone needs to do something, tell us, yeah, and then the service department calls all the customers again.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's still one approach I really love, and those two combinations of don't care about who's internal and external, and the other thing, don't care about who's business and IT. We are all one, and we are all together responsible for a good result. I think that was from a cultural perspective one of the major changes, and brought us very far. Yeah.
Yeah, when you are making that point, it also brought me back to this question of Mohammed, of how you actually make people more aligned or more mature. If you give somebody responsibility, they will often just grow up to it automatically, if they really do, because you might be a bit afraid of something, you may not be really understanding the impact of what you are doing, and thus not really committing yourself. But when you actually see the results of your work, positive or negative, that will impact on you. And I think that's a very important point of how we try to work as well, as partners, really. And here another thing came to my mind, because digital transformation in most cases doesn't really touch the entire company in the same way, and every department in the same way. And I think that Sonnen is quite a specific case, because you are member of what is sometimes called Mittelstand companies in Germany. So these are medium-sized companies with some strong regional ties, usually very innovative, with a long-term focus and defined business strategy, laser-focused, doing one thing extremely well, and that is your product and your services. But these companies are almost never publicly owned, and they might have a very traditional structure of management. So there is this reporting structure, which sometimes doesn't really change much during operations or digital transformation, and there is the digital services and the actual product changes. So what I'd like to highlight is that you don't actually need to revolutionize the entire company if you manage it well. I think that it would not be realistic. Sometimes it would be against culture, not really necessary, because you have to be respectful of where you are working and what others are doing, right? So when I'm thinking about how sonnen changed, it comes to my mind. So and that is also a good lesson. So you can be cherry picking sometimes. You can select to change some parts of the company in a way that would be beneficial for you, but things that work fine can be kept sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true, and that's exactly our approach. I mean, every company has to find their own approach. What is good for them and how it works. And we exactly said we don't need to transform the whole company. Yeah, and it doesn't. If you look at our, let's say, traditional and bread and butter hardware business, which is very, very high level engineering, yeah, and it works well. Why take different approaches, yeah, if it's good, and if you're talking about a business where you have innovation cycles of between 9 and 18 months, or probably even 24 months, you can work with other development models. Yeah, if you talk about hardware, all the certifications you need in order to get connections to the energy grid, and we all need that. Probably you don't have to fully transform that. You can also improve it sometimes, yeah. But the area we were approaching was really customer focusing, really market focusing, really focusing on growth, on scaling, and also focusing on competition. Yeah, we always wanted to get ahead of competition. We saw that in our industry, where we're talking about electricians, for example. Yeah, so in German it's Handwerk. Yeah, I don't know the English word for it. Yeah, this is sometimes not really digitized. Yeah, but if you really understand that part of the business and you think it in a digital way, you see, okay, wow, there's a lot of room for improvement. That can be also fun for our partners. Yeah, where they say, okay, wow, this is so cool. I can sell more in less time, and I can install more in less time, so I can make better business. Yeah, and if you get your partners to that point, yeah, with digital, then it's cool. Yeah, if you just do digital because you want to, and if you just do agile because you want to, then at the end probably you produce a big heap of software and a very cool company, but nothing really changes with impact to the outside world. And I think this is probably then the thing where you can measure success or not. Does it really have impact on the outside world? Yeah. Do you get more customers? Do you get happier customers? Do you reduce costs? Is it easier to partner with new companies? Is it easier to bundle your products with other products and services? Can you extend to new markets faster than previously? If you look at this kind of impact, then you see, okay, this is something where digital and agile can help you. If you don't see this impact coming, then probably business is already fine, and we probably don't have to touch it for the next 1, 2, or 3 years. And the other thing you mentioned, I think, is very important, is being respectful. Yeah, and this was also something I always, not only at sonnen but also in all previous companies I saw, is if you want to do new things, going new ways, that might also appear a bit arrogant. Yeah, so because you say, I know it better. Yeah, this is better approach. Yeah, and not everybody is happy if you tell them, okay, you worked a certain way for 10 years and now we do it because I know how to do it, and that's not what you should do. But really convincing people, yeah, I mean, it's the saying, winning hearts and minds, haha, yeah. But that's really about that's really what it's about, and if you do that and be respectful for what is there and the achievements, and try to include that to a certain way, then you are probably much more successful than telling everybody you're the smartest guy in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, true. You may know that you know the best, and you very well may know the best. But if you can't actually put that into practice and pull others on board, it's just not effective. So it doesn't really matter. And the way you do that is being respectful to business partners, being respectful for people with whom you work. But it's also about transparency and openness and communicating the actual gain. Why we should do that way, why we should take this decision in that way. Because right now we are data driven, we have metrics, we have tools, we are mapping the customer experience, we are mapping the business model, we are doing these innovation workshops and all of that. And that also drives motivation in teams, I think. If people really understand what's actually going on, not just being told that is the goal and that is the way we are going to do that, but actually being involved. And the tools here are numerous, right? In product development, in mapping customer journey, in adjusting goals to that, metrics, tools. We introduced quite a lot of that during our work. What do you think was the most challenging here from that point of view, when it comes to the tools and metrics that we are using to take decisions, actually?
Really getting to the tools and metrics. So, to be open, it's still something.
What do you mean? What do you mean by getting to them?
Yeah, so it's because it's still something we're working on. Yeah, I mean, we want to be data driven, but if I'm very honest, we are not in all areas. We are not that data driven as we want to be. Yeah, because sometimes it's really hard to gather all the data. And I think this is quite typical, not only for Sonnen and but also for a lot of other companies I know, because also with data you have legacy, yeah, and you have probably with legacy systems, you have legacy processes, and what we saw is that probably some years ago, yeah, data and good data quality wasn't that valuable, yeah, or people didn't sometimes see the value. You just need to get your process running, yeah, and what you do is, okay, it does work, so I added some fields here and there, and now it works, and okay, I can write my bill and my invoice. It's good. But if you later want to come to really good data quality, where you can have a clear picture of what is happening outside, what's happening in the market, what is happening in your processes, what is happening with customer satisfaction, and you want to make decisions based on this, you really run into trouble if the data quality isn't that good, or if you don't know exactly what's the correct interpretation of what you see. Yeah. So this is from not only tool question, it's really a mindset question. Why is good data quality so important? Yeah, and this is something we are still discussing and driving in the whole company. That everybody is responsible for good data quality, because that's the easiest way how we can have a clear picture on what's happening and how we can clearly identify where we can improve, where we have new business chances, and this is a lot of work, yeah, because getting a data-driven mindset in an organization, and this is not only in parts, but you need to get it in more or less all parts of the organization. This is quite a lot of quite a lot of discussions, quite a lot of analysis, really dragging out what are the root causes for some data quality issues, closing some process gaps. This is really nitty and gritty sometimes, but so important. Yeah, that's probably one of the most important things. Yeah. and when I come to tools, and things, I think what we see at the moment with the COVID-19 situation, I would call it here. So people working from home, you sitting at home, me sitting at home, probably some of our guests are sitting at home and listening. This is I think this was very cool that we started as a remote team from the beginning. Yeah, so we have people with Boldare in Poland, and we have people in Germany in several offices of Sonnen, and the whole collaboration was already quite digital and doing design sprints, doing concepts, all remotely connected with tools like Slack and Google Suite, Miro as a big whiteboard, and then applying the right methodologies on this. That really boosted us. It took a bit from in the first, I don't know, weeks and months, because not everybody's used to this kind of collaboration. But I think this is one of the things where we where the change of with COVID-19 for us was more or less seamless. Yeah, we just everybody moved to home office and continued the way we worked before. So that was, I think, it was from the whole business perspective helping us a lot, and also from a cultural perspective, it wasn't that major change. Yeah, so we knew how to collaborate and communicate on a digital way, and that's probably one of the biggest benefits, even if it's not really product related, but the whole culture enabled us to do it then.
Yeah, it's something that I also noticed. Basically, the way that we cooperate didn't really change much. Of course, before this global sanitary fiasco, we were trying to have some more face-to-face and physical contact, like meeting at least once every few weeks, once every month, either here in Poland or over there at your HQ in Germany right now. We obviously had to limit that. I hope we'll come back to that when all of that passes. But yeah, there really wasn't much change, and that's also telling. I think that it's not even that I'm thinking that it's an obvious fact that this COVID-19 thing sped up things at companies at an incredible rate. So it was a digital transformation at its simplest at many companies, and introduced forcibly just because of these events of almost the entire last year, I would say. And we were quite happy and lucky that we actually were ready for that, and much didn't really change from that respect.
Yeah. And I mean, you were just talking about, we were talking about tools and those things, and this is, I mean, it really helped us that we did introduce for example, our architecture teams in a fully remote setup, in a fully digital setup before we went into the pandemic. Yeah, because these are very complex discussions, also design discussions about first on a high level, what is the customer journey, which kind of customer experience do we want to have where, and then dragging it down to design. This works perfectly if you sit next to each other. Yeah, when you can draw things, and if you want to build to draw a bigger architecture and have in-depth discussion about certain areas and how APIs should communicate among each other. And we are quite used to doing this on a wall like this, yeah. But as we already started doing it with digital tools, it wasn't a big change. Yeah, so that really helped us, that we transformed a lot of methodologies that you normally would do with Post-its and with whiteboards, and transformed all of this to digital way before. So we just could continue. And if I now look back, I would never change it back again, because it's so much easier to look things up, to continue work if you have the right tools in place and a right kind of facilitation, moderation, methodologies you use, and a tool set from how you want to work with each other. That's at the end, it turned out to be much faster than doing it with the more offline approaches we had previously. Yeah. So this is really one of the biggest benefits from collaboration. And this will, I think, drag us for ages now. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting because obviously, if you want to collaborate in an agile way with and have the full benefit of teamwork and all of that, you will need facilitation and you will need these tools that help you extract, the right ideas and to validate them during workshops, for example, during design sessions, all of that. Yeah, you need the tools and the roles. But do you think that would be difficult to transition back to doing that in a room, sitting physically at a table?
Yeah. I think I recognized several workshops during the summer where we were sitting in one room, so where we didn't have that contact restrictions because of COVID. But we were all sitting in one room in front of our laptops with our headsets on it. We were working in the online collaboration tools. We had one on the big screen, so that we can everybody look at the same thing, what you normally would do in the screen share or something. But the rest we were all taking digital tools because we saw, okay, this is much more natural for us already. Yeah. Bit strange if you people are sitting next to each other, but it was really like working was this and having fun. Of course, you turned next to the next colleague and had some jokes and so on. Yeah.
There is no coming back. Really interesting. I think that we could speak a bit about product management and how that changed during the last, let's say, 2 years that we were working together. Obviously, you were managing and working a lot on innovation at sonnen and at project management at digital utility department, right? There was a lot of development, a lot changed here. We produced a lot of products and services and a lot of transformation. Could you comment on that a bit? How that product management practices changed when you were enabled and empowered with more data, with new tools, new team setups, and all of that?
Mm-hmm. I think we from the very beginning when we started, we had part of the vision was we wanted to become not only more data driven but also more API driven. We wanted to transform our business to APIs, which is really a hard job. Yeah, and in the beginning, it didn't turn out that we were able to do this transformation just in one step. Yeah, so we need to take a lot of steps in between. We needed to learn a lot. We also, you don't do an API just because an API is cool, but because you want to do something with it. And one of the major drivers for us was that we wanted to combine and bundle our business with external partners, so with other businesses. Yeah, if we wanted to approach new markets where we probably don't have our full service portfolio active, but only parts of it, and wanted to bundle that with other companies that provided the other part, but still one big customer experience and one big, and I think this is the major change in product management. Not think about your product as a silo, as something that is there that customers can buy, pay for, and be happy, but as something that consists of many smaller services, which parts of it can come from you as a company, but also can come from others. And how do you make the best bundles for the customer? So not think about we deliver everything, but we are part of a bigger ecosystem. So product management, and this is still under transformation is becoming more and more like an ecosystem management, where you see us providing things, and others providing things. And at the end, there's always this one customer. For us, it's residential customers, people in their households, where we want to give the best experience about energy, about EV driving, so everything that is done with electricity. And it's not always sonnen. Yeah, it cannot always be sonnen, because then we would be, I don't know, a triple billion company. So.
Someday,
yeah, probably 2022.
I guess so. That's in the strategy, right?
Yeah. So this is the change, and if you think that to the end, then it's not software, it's everything. Yeah. How do you do contracts with customers if you are only part of the service? Yeah. How do you change other parts of the service from that are coming from third parties? How do you get to some API lifecycle management? Yeah, so you have services in place that have an API that is 1.5 years old, and a lot of other customer experiences are relying on this. But from your perspective, you need to change it, and it's very important that you do this bigger changes. And how do you get to good API contracts and good API management? And this is really the change that is currently going on, and will, I think, continue in a very fast way. And yeah, this is, I don't know if you still can call it product management. It's really changing to more ecosystem approach.
Yeah, it's probably very true. And we are closing in our time now. We actually have just a few, but perhaps there is something we haven't really touched on that you think is important or you'd like to say. So what haven't we talked about you think might be worth just mentioning?
And I think we already talked about it, but I think from my perspective, is really everything you do in those larger transformations. I think for me it's very important to always look at the people, and at the culture. And this is not because you just say those things and they're important, but it's really if you can get your culture to people and teams encouraging taking their own decisions. This is largest step. Yeah, this is not what everybody is just able to do from, okay, previously I was the boss of 25 people and I told them what to do, and now I'm more like the moderator, facilitator, someone who creates structures that people can more or less decide on their own what to do. This is a big change on a management perspective, and also on an employee perspective. It's a change. You have much more freedom, but much more responsibility, and this is not what everybody is used to. But if you come to a combination where the culture, the management philosophy, and the employees' skill set and characters, if those things match, yeah, then it really gets to something greater. Yeah, if the things don't match and you just want to transform the things with, okay, we need to apply these methodologies, we need to apply these processes, and then everything will be agile and great. Yeah, there's very likely to, well, not to be that good, at least. Yeah, not probably won't fail, but will be not that. You lose a lot. So I think this is always the very important thing. There can be good business strategies, great IT architectures. There can be great people to deliver great software, but if that not all matches in one culture, then it's getting rather slower than faster and worse. Yeah? So, and it's a lot of fun if it works.
Yeah, it does. So, thank you, Michael, and it was great having you today. I guess we'll be talking privately on some everyday business very soon. And Pavel, I can see your question, but let's take that outside. I try to answer that with Michael. I want to be respectful of your time, guys. And Carolina, step on with some closing remarks. The voice is yours.
Sure. Thank you so much for being with us here. Thank you for your attention, and a special thanks to Michael and Arthur for sharing your expertise and knowledge. Also, I wanted to say that we all do realize that every path of every company is different and requires sort of custom approach to digitization of products and services. And we would be delighted to talk to you how Boulder can help on your path. Our experts here at Boulder can help you structure and fully support you along the way. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us via hello@boulder.com. Also, we have one more request. Basically, we would love to get in touch with you to get feedback about today's session, but also ask you additional questions and insights, challenges that you might be facing in your company, in order to prepare even more valuable content and webinars in the future. So my colleague Jan will be in touch with you shortly to ask about your insights. And on the final note, we hope we can see you once again at our forthcoming webinar. We touched today upon the topic of agile company and how to become one. But in the next session in January, we'll share much more insights about how to implement it in your business. So thank you so much for your attention and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and stay safe.
Thank you.